some animal has relieved itself all over my car.
Today I thought I might do a video on paying for this car. So I think I'll just discuss how I decided to purchase this car and what my repayments are and that sort of thing. There's the first giveaway, repayments. So no, I didn't buy this car outright. That would be really stupid if you knew anything about finances. A lot of people say, well, you don't even own the car, etc, etc. Yeah, but even if I had $100,000 lying around, it would still be a really bad idea to buy this car outright, because the interest rate on this car is less than 5%. It's like 4.9% or something, which means it's actually the same as a house loan. This may change from country to country. In different countries, you know, you can get cheaper loans or lower interest loans, but in Australia, home loans right now, I mean, they'll advertise like 3.9%, but they're really around about the 4 to 5% mark. So this car, the repayments, the percentage on this car is about the same as a home loan. Now, what that means is, if I have literally any other debt that is not like a home loan, for example, a personal loan or a credit card, it absolutely makes no sense to buy this car outright, because the money that I would have effectively still owed on those other loans would add up to being more than the repayment cost for this car. The car's going to depreciate the same amount whether I buy it outright or whether I buy it on a loan. So it doesn't, you can't factor in the depreciation cost of the car as, because it's an asset, blah blah blah, it's depreciating an asset, you should pay for it. No, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's what you effectively want to calculate is how much you would have spent overall across all of your assets and across all of your debts. So in the case of this car specifically, I have it on a 5-year balloon loan. Yes, that means I am paying for very little of this car. To me, that's a good thing though, because it's not about affordability. I could have met higher monthly repayments or weekly repayments or whatever I'm doing. It's about having that money for other uses. Like I said, for example, other loans that have higher interest. This car being on around 4% interest, or 4 point whatever it was interest, allows me to put some of my money into loans that have 9 or 10% interest. So I'm effectively halving the interest rate on those other loans because I can put more money towards them. Now, I do have a very large balloon on this car. Well, I don't know if it's actually that large compared to other people, but from my perspective, it's pretty large. I purchased the car for around $93,000, I think it was, all inclusive, which is not bad. I'm pretty happy with that price, considering it does have most of the features. I think the only things that it's missing is the Matrix LED headlights. I kind of wish I got them now. I mean, I didn't really have a choice. I didn't spec the car. I just picked one off a boat on its way here, mostly because I was too impatient to actually spec one and wait for it. So I told the dealer what I was after, and they found this one, and it matched at the time everything I wanted. Like I said, I would have preferred to get the Matrix LED headlights these days, but it is pretty gimmicky and pretty dumb. There's not really any practical reason to get it, but you know, you kind of keep bouncing between, is it practical, and then you go, well, does it matter? I didn't buy the car for it to be practical, etc. But anyway, it's a highly spec car. It's got the sports kit suspension stuff on it, the mag ride, and it's got the black pack and all that sort of stuff. So I'm pretty happy to get it for under 100,000. I'm sure people will say, oh, I got mine for 85, whatever, great, cool, I don't really care. So I'm paying $300 a week for this car in repayments, which to me is very good. I'm very happy with that. The reason being that when I got my first brand new car, back when I first got my first job, my first real proper paying job, it was the Toyota 86, and my repayments on that were $300 a week. So now after about 6-7 years, I think it's 7 years I've had the 86 for, to be paying the same repayments on a car like this, I don't care. Like, why would I be concerned about that? I'm quite happy about those repayments. I'm obviously earning a lot more than I was back then, so to have the same repayments on my car doesn't make a big difference. So yeah, as I was saying, the balloon is quite large. It's around the $40,000 mark, and it's a 5-year term. So that means I'm paying $300 a week for 5 years, and then at the end of that, I have a $40,000 debt. Now, this doesn't really concern me too much. I did the math beforehand, and I had a look on car sales and looked at other cars at different ages. I'm not sure if I'll have the car for 5 years. I don't think I will. Although a friend of mine, Scott, in other videos pointed out that there's not really a lot of places to go from here. If I want a small, fast, all-wheel drive car, this is pretty much the limit. Yeah, people say you can go RS4. Well, that's not that small. It's actually quite a large step up in physical size for basically no change in performance. They're basically the same 0 to 100 time, basically the same quarter-mile time. This one handles better because it's smaller and a bit more nimble, and around the town it's a lot more enjoyable to drive. Plus this one sounds better. Obviously this is opinion, but I think this is the best sounding Audi that you can buy other than the R8 V10. So there's not a lot of distance for me to move here. Obviously there's AMG, but they have the A45, which is slower, sounds worse, looks worse, in my opinion, obviously. I do think the A45 is a nice car. I really like it, and I think it looks good. But when I say looks worse, I mean it doesn't really match my style so much. I think it's a bit too flashy for me. I like the subtle looks of this car. And then the next car up in the range that I would consider in the AMG range is the C43. The reason the C43 over the C63 is it sounds a lot better. I don't like the sound of the C63s. I don't like the sound of the big V8s from AMG. Actually, I don't like the sound of V8s in general, but especially not the AMG V8s. They just sound... I mean, again, I appreciate it, I understand, I get why people like it, and I think they sound kind of good, but it's really just not my thing. I like to compare it to people smacking the bottom of an overturned bin. It just, yeah, it doesn't have that lyrical, musical sound for me that I really want. So realistically, if I want to get something that's similar size, similar weight, but higher performance and sounds just as good, if not better, the next step up is pretty much an R8 or a Hurricane or a Gallardo. But then a Gallardo, it's too old and you can have reliability problems, etc. So where do I go from here? And that's why I think that's the thing that will probably make me keep this car for longer than, say, 3 years, which would be I get to the end of the warranty period and I start doing some significant modifications to this car. And I think that'd be pretty fun, but I'm not sure if I'll actually end up doing it. I gotta say, I would love to see what this thing's like with a nice big turbo, bit of a tune. Oh, nice A45. Is that lull-by? Yes, it is lull-by. But yeah, the position I can see myself being in is in sort of 3 years, I'll probably... Maybe there'll be a new one out. I'm not really sure yet. Okay, don't open your door. Thank you, lady. At this stage, I think it's financially reasonable to sell the car after 3 years. At that point in time, I'll owe about $60,000, I think, and the car should be worth around about $300,000 3 years, probably $75,000, $70,000. So we're talking about a 10, 15K difference there. And at that point in time, I could go maybe just get another new one. I don't know. I'm not sure what works out financially to be the most reasonable decision. I don't really jump into things without fully figuring out the pros and cons and how it's going to work out in the long run. Obviously, I haven't thought 2 cars ahead when I purchased this one. I only thought about this car and the end of this car. And as far as I can tell, no matter how long I have the car for, I will always be able to get money back, or obviously if you stretch it out to like 15 years, of course, the car's only going to be worth about, I don't know, $15,000 maybe, as a ballpark guess. But then you'd have nothing owed on the car, of course. So yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going to go after this. I'm not sure I'm going to go in the next 3 to 5 years. At this moment, I'm really liking this car. I can't see anything better on the market for my purposes, other than, like I said, jumping to a supercar. So yeah, I am in a bit of a predicament, but I think that's what flash tuning and turbo upgrades is for. I just have to make sure that I do it slowly, so I don't just get used to something big straight away. Flash tune it, maybe get it to about 500 horsepower, see what that's like, and be happy with that for, hopefully, if I can keep it down to about stretch it out for 3 months, that'd be great. And then maybe start doing physical mods, putting bigger turbos on it and stuff like that. But anyway, I gotta go to work. Bye.